We live? We are live, folks.
We're live.
Okay. I don't know how. Woo! We're live.
Yes, we are.
Why do I have this in my I can say, let's turn this down just a little bit.
Little bit.
That's it. There we
There you
go.
go. Right there.
There we go. People can see us. Oh,
Hi.
hey, we made it. Sometimes we're running last minute. We're changing locations. We're trying something new with my cowboy hat.
I said
Antoinette. Fashion is her thing a little bit. Move this way a little bit. You can move in so people can actually see all of you.
Oh, okay.
Because she is the focus of attention now. I don't know why they say share your referral link. I think people can see us, so I'm gonna make sure we're
Okay.
live here as well. As
Hi,
we jump
Facebook.
in.
Hi, IG. Hi, LinkedIn. Hi.
Did we go live? Yeah, we are live.
We are live, right?
That
TikTok.
would be.
Uh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
You know, I could check on my phone.
Yeah, check on your
actually.
phone.
Let me check on my phone.
Sometimes you're out here.
Don't want to be talking to ourselves now for
Yeah.
an hour. That would be a little, I don't know. Okay.
Have you not seen
I
it?
don't think it's live. I don't see. But usually it's showing.
It'll show
here.
up here, yeah.
It's every platform, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's on every platform,
And it's under the African thing.
all platforms.
Um,
What's your referral link? What it is?
yeah,
They were
I
sharing.
think it's on Facebook. Oh, um, check Facebook.
Nice. Okay, here it is.
Okay.
Talk to you. We're on.
Okay.
We're live. It's okay. I don't know what's going on? What's going on? It happens sometimes.
Yes, it does.
It does.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. Larger. We can see each other, right?
Yes, we can see it. That's fine.
Woo!
We are live.
We are live.
We are
I
live.
see this. Guys, sometimes we get these technical issues, but it is what it is, and we keep rolling with the, as I say, rolling with the punches. And I can see here. Okay, I think we have sent out the link as well. We get one person, two people.
Okay.
I will share this on my page as well,
Okay.
so that people can see it. People who shared this, we're good.
I can do that.
Yeah, you can share it on your own page, and so individuals can jump on there. Okay.
Okay.
Man, one of the things I try to do is change locations, and so we're actually in Denton, the Denton Library. I think it's Emma Fowler Library, and so they have a pretty good setup. We're going to, as far as being able to converse without having a lot of noise. So please can't post comments to some destination. Okay, I don't know. So you can, as the same rule, if you have comments and stuff, please post those as we're engaging with one another.
Mhm.
So trying to, it's coming clear?
Yeah. It's a little, it's still a little,
Yeah, one of the
but
internet is,
it's getting better.
it's getting better, hopefully.
Mhm.
We're gonna jump right into it because we're 5 minutes in.
Mhm.
Thank you. We have the Cameroonian flag up here. We have some Cameroonian bear. I got it from Darfur. He gave me this, and then we have the African think tank shirt over there. So I'm just trying to make sure we add some more background and carrying stuff around
Mhm.
here. And we're good to go.
Yes, we are.
So, Antoinette,
Yes, sir.
thanks for being here.
No
I
worries.
appreciate it. I know we were going to do it online, but you said it'd be good, a great opportunity for us to meet.
Mhm.
This is the first time we're trying on the phone. I like it. It's a lot clearer on the computer, but we'll see.
We'll
But
see. Yeah.
we're gonna always have an opportunity to do this again.
Mhm.
We're here to talk about this book.
Mhm.
There is a lot in it. You can see I've been writing and doing some stuff, and I know Antoinette has a lot to share because we've talked about that. But I think where I first want to begin is, where are you from?
Mhm.
And speak a little about that and a little about your family and what was home life or life before you came to the US?
Oh, well, I have to start by thanking you so much for inviting me for this chat.
Yeah.
It's always an honor and a pleasure sitting with you. I love your energy, and I always tell you your writings. This guy right here, when I read what he writes, I feel beyond even just the words. He's an amazing journalist.
Thank
Keep
you.
telling him you don't have to have a degree that says you're a journalist to be one, because you are one, in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you.
But my name's Antoinette Njombua Fombad. I'm the author of the book Everything Is Within, and I was born in Cameroon, Central Africa, I should say, because I've said West Africa sometimes and people get mad at me because I'm like, well, I mean, location. But Central Africa, I'm from a family of 4 girls. Initially, my mother had 4 girls, and I remember growing up just with my mother and my sisters, and it was a house full of so much feminine energy, but I watched my mother raise not just the 4 girls, but she raised her relatives and her siblings' kids, and she was so powerful at it single-handedly. And I think that's like a really big inspiration for me growing up in a household with just feminine energy, but still like you know practicing so much like masculine energy, like with task orientation. And my mother was very task oriented. She was a hustler. So it was like that. So it kind of transferred to us as her kids. And it gave me the zeal to be able to also like express myself.
Yeah.
And I was always that kid that was very expressive, and when I saw things, I wanted to feel them. I wanted to know what they were like. I wanted to talk about them. I wanted to write them, and I wanted to experience them. Because I think from even as little as a child, I did understand the value of an experience over just a knowing, right? Because the experience is where you really fully get to, understand the essence of whatever it is that you're knowledgeable about. So I was always that kid. So I think that transferred over even as I came over to the United States and became a nurse, and but expressing myself was always a piece of something that I carried with me from very young. Yeah. So
So you said you grew up in Central Africa, because a lot of people don't know the geography. What was the catalyst that brought you to the US?
Well, my father was he was a resident here at the time, and he actually schooled over here for a while. So he got his permanent resident status, and so like it was a obvious transition for us as his kids to move over here. And I transitioned over here straight into college. So yeah, so my adult life technically started in the United States. So yeah.
What were some of the cultural challenges?
Oh boy. Oh my God. There's so many. Because if you think about it, I feel like we're raised so conservative in Africa. Like, so I came here at the age of 20, but if I have to trace it back and see, like, I was technically I probably had the mindset of like a 15 or 16-year American year old in a sense. So a lot of things shocked me, just like how like freely people were with the expressions of like intimate things that, back home were just so like hidden, like maybe dating, and then even just like the freedom of speech and expression for kids here. Like, I feel like that's one thing that Africa really struggles with, is allowing the children to really be expressive of themselves. Everything is considered, almost everything, not everything, but it's considered disrespectful in a sense for a kid to speak up. So that's one thing that, kind of alarmed me when I got here. And then just the cars, everything fast paced. It was, And then one thing that really shocked me. I got to meet so many different Africans from so many different countries in the United States. When I lived in Africa, I hardly met any other Africans besides Cameroonian. But getting here, it opened me up to the entire continent. Especially like starting from college.
And there's anything with Chad is right next to Cameroon. And I even lived in Cameroon for a little bit. But I knew Cameroonians, but I really didn't know the country. Even though I've been to Marwa and Garwa. But coming here, to your point, I met a lot more. I learned a lot more about Africa here than I did on the continent. Because we don't tend to travel mostly within our own country. That's changing over time. But to your point, I completely agree with that. So, just about culture shock, some of the transition. I want to jump into your book because there's a lot to cover, and you have a lot of videos already out. That if you go to her page, she talks. There's a lot of videos and snippets of a lot of the information within this book, and so we definitely want to make sure people go to your page. And so one of the things that stood out for me when I first met you, I think it was a little bit over 2 years ago. We're at an African think tank event. And we have these breakout groups. And Antoinette had the floor. And as she was talking, I'm thinking to myself, is she talking to us or she's talking to herself? Because it's as if she was she was in the room having a conversation with everybody, but it's like, she's wrestling with something. She has some deep questions that she's asking us, but she's really asking herself. And so when she was going through this journey of writing her book, and this came out, and I started reading some, I was like, oh, I get it. This is what the result of wrestling with some questions that were within her. And then she's sharing that with the world. So can you speak to that meeting too? Am I kind of on point?
Yes, you're very much on point, because exactly 2 years ago when I met this gentleman over here was when I actually started the process of thinking about writing the book. My journey started actually like during the pandemic. Like a lot of people, obviously, I spent so much time with myself, and I went through like a reawakening, like trying to figure out like, okay, who really am I besides the labels and, everything I've learned so far? What is my take on my life? That's how I looked at it. And I started questioning a lot of things, like how I was raised, cultural expectations, just how like certain things, like how society has structured certain things to be seen or received. I started questioning all those things, and my goal was to find truth and not necessarily proof, just truth. I just wanted the truth, and truth typically comes with like an intuitive knowing where you don't need any validation, or you don't need any research, or you don't need you just know it, and we all have that capacity. And so when I met you, I was going through that.
I could tell.
And I was doing some research, and I wanted to know how other people were navigating, the issues that I was, battling with, and just to see how, like, if it was more of like a individual or personal journey, or if it was more like more like a community kind of effect, especially after COVID happened. And I I've been writing before that. I wrote essays. I wrote like, clips. I wrote, but then I just said it was time to write a book. And I
So
was
were a lot of
doing all
that
that.
stuff you were writing, were you sharing that, or is the book the first time you're sharing a lot of?
I was sharing like a lot of like topics and a lot of like things about the topics that are in the book. Because as I was going through the journey, because as a creative, right, I'm sure you know, when you're experiencing something, that's when it's the most authentic. That's when it's good to actually process and share it, because you don't have to water it down with doubt or imposter syndrome. So I'd write a lot, and I said I journaled a lot,
Okay.
pretty much a lot. I have a lot of stuff that I have never even shared with people yet.
Okay.
And so it was just a combination of the things that I'd written. I kind of expanded on a lot of them because it was mostly short form, obviously.
Yeah.
But I got to expand on a lot of them, and I wanted to bring the message out into the world. So
Well, we're gonna jump into this book.
yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing the video is a little grainy, but so be it. If the sound is clear, so open up your ears. If you have to close your eyes, just listen, because we are going to, there's an African quote called "A child among the elders converses with its ears." All right, not that all of your children, but you get the point. So we converse with our ears and just listen to what is being said,
Mhm.
and just take it in. And so we're gonna jump right into this, because you look at, well, where'd you come up? Well, let me start. Where'd you come up with the title? Everything is within. Crafting a mindful life: my journeys to self connection and the lessons learned along the way.
So initially, when I started writing the book, because I have a lot of my personal journey in the book, but not, just enough. I feel like the original title was Journey to Self,
Okay.
Journey Back to Self. And I kind of like, but I wasn't quite sure, like, if that's what I wanted it to be, because I wanted it to be way more universal and way more like just like deep. And as I was working with my, publisher, my team, and we were trying to figure out, I had like 6 different titles, and this was one of them. And, of course, we live in the world of AI, and the team used some tech and to figure out what would best suit the compilation of everything that I've written. And this was the first thing that I picked up. It said, that's and I just connected with it. Like, it was instant. I just knew that it had to be the title of the book. Yeah.
And the image, because I know you put out on, I know it's not as clear, but I know you had put out, was it on Facebook?
Everywhere.
People, I think 2 or 3 different series.
Yes.
And had people kind of, so it was immersive in having people choose a picture.
Exactly. I wanted to get people's input. I had the shoot. I went to Peru for a spiritual retreat last year, at the end of last year. And one of my cohorts, I'm so grateful to him, happened to be a photographer for events. And he decided to do the shoot with me. It was so quick. Like, I got dressed, we went outside. It was like 20 minutes. Like, let's stand by the mountains over here, because Peru is all mountains. It's so beautiful. It's so grounding. Like, it will bring you back, just it will humble you. And so I had several shots. I was trying to decide about the energy of the book, like the smiley face, like the joy, or like the serious face, like, okay, I'm evolving, this is me, or like just like the calm and peaceful face, which is like the, eyes closed. And so I did a poll, and several people picked different ones. A lot of people picked like the one where I'm smiling. And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? My book is all about integration. Integration is everything. It's the sad, it's the happy, it's the beautiful, it's the challenges, it's the, peace. It's everything in one. So that's how I came up with the concept of doing.
I'm just now catching it.
Really?
I see the 2 images in the back.
Yeah.
You're smiling over here, kind of contemplative. Okay.
Yes.
I see it now.
Yes.
I'm just now seeing it.
I wanted it to be subtle, but this was the main photo was the energy that I felt like had to come with the book.
Okay.
Because I felt like it was something that came through and not from me. So like almost like a sage passed it over, and I wanted to represent that as best as I can. And I'm a creative. I love something beautiful. I also wanted it to look like art. So even if you don't read the book, you can pick it up and you can at least appreciate what it looks like. So
And it represents a lot of what Cameroon is about, is the colors.
mhm,
You guys are huge on colors.
very much so.
So where do you think that comes from? And then tie that into your fashion.
Yes.
Like, one thing about you is fashion. You got the, she's wearing the hat today. I got my hat. You know, I got it from Miss Q and Miss Prado from the school I work with. Shout out to y'all for this. But your hats and your wardrobe, if you go on her page, she's always doing these awesome shoots. You're just basically a model. So we talked a little bit just before on about your fashion and why you, what its interpretation it is for you.
So it ties back to me being a kid, and my mother loved style. My mother was always styling. She had like the best, like, you know, cloths, rapas. She would like style them different ways. And even when she traveled to the United States, she'd come back with like thrift clothing, but it would be like she would pick the most gorgeous outfits. And my sisters and I, every time we went to church, you know, we would just be looking fancy.
Yeah.
And so I grew up just loving style. Just from her, she inspired me, and my sisters as well. One of my sisters, particularly Olive, she also loves style. So it became like a family thing. Olive.
Olive sounds so weird.
I know, right? Olive. En français, huh?
Okay.
So it became like a family thing, and I feel like style to me is my language. It's like a language. You know, we all have our own creative processes and we have our own creative niches. I feel like style for me, it's like I speak a language when I style. You know, it's not just clothing to me. It's like it's what this show wants to express. The bright colors, it's joy, it's, you know, it wants to move you, wants to make you feel something. That's what style is to me. So
just some very emotion. I think the outward expression of the emotion inward.
Exactly.
Okay. Now we got the style. Let's get to the book. I saw this. It's written in really 4 sections, and I'd like to talk to you about that. We talked a bit offline. So you have part 1, part 2, and part 3, and part 4. And so part 1 talks about detachment, reconnecting with your humanity. And so could you speak a little bit about that? What do you mean? What are you the message you're trying to get across?
So if you think about it, as kids, you know, especially I'm going to speak for as an African, you know, girl child growing up, there's a lot of things that we learn as kids that are ingrained in our minds as the finite way to live life. There's a lot of things that we are exposed to and told this is where you end. You can go beyond that. And so like reconnecting with your humanity is having people realize that as a kid, you're somebody else's responsibility, if you think about it. So you really don't have that choice or the option to be able to explore what the world feels like to you, right? But that is where you learn the basics, especially from 0 to 7 years old. That is where you learn like the basics of your innate nature, kindness, love, compassion, you know, just presence. That's why children are always so present, because they're like, you learn a bit, we forget those things, right? We forget them as we start to get older, because life starts to take over and we have to join society, we have to join the community, and we forget that, oh, we have that. That's like our innate gift. To be able to explore, you know, and be curiosity is so key. We forget that. So reconnecting with your humanity is just reconnecting back with your curiosity.
So our creativity, I'm saying that as we get older, sometimes our creativity or the ability to explore kind of dies.
It does.
Goes into our reality of life.
Exactly. So we're falling back into reconnecting with that natural innate human nature, which is curiosity, creativity, exploration. So it's reconnecting with that side of us, because that's the first step. It takes even recognizing that, hey, I lost the origins of why I am what I am.
Yeah. I see that. I love this part where you talk chapter 2, we need deep healing, and you talk about grief. And this is a quote from you. One of the hardest things about healing is letting go of the old and its need to crave healing while simultaneously feeding into trauma responses to keep us in the familiar. Healing requires grieving. Grieving the old while welcoming the new. You preach on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
It looks like there's a journey of grief in here.
Yes,
that had to get to where you are now.
Yes, everybody goes through grieving at some point or another. Grieving is not just I lost someone.
Yeah.
Grieving, you lose a job, you lose a relationship, you lose a child, God forbid. You go through grieving. You know, grieving is the process of healing. It's the beginning. It's the process that takes you to healing. But here's the difference. Grieving comes with compassion.
Grieving comes with compassion.
It comes with compassion. It comes with a ton load of self-compassion for yourself, recognizing your humanity, understanding your humanity, and then doing the work that is necessary. So, but here's the thing, right? Because if you think about it, I'm a 44-year-old woman. There's certain things that I've learned all my life as a 44-year-old woman that it's not going to take a day, even a year to change. It takes time. So when you're changing or you're grieving through anything, sometimes it will take time because you're grieving something that you're leaving. But then your body, which is so used to being in that state and living in that state, is resisting. So you go through the back and forth and the push and the pull. And that's where, like, it's really hard. Change, that's one of the most challenging stages of change when you go through that back and forth. Should I not? My body's comfortable. Why am I pushing myself to do this? Everybody else is the same the other way. Why? So that's the most challenging part, but it's part of the process of grieving and it's part of the process of healing and growing as well.
What other emotions would you say are part of that? Because I there's a quote by C.S. Lewis that really resonated with me around grief. And it says, I sat with anger long enough that she told me her real name is grief.
Yes.
I sat with, so one of those emotions was anger.
Yes.
Did you have any anger?
A lot of anger.
And in what areas were you angry?
I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of resentment. I had a lot of resentment for my father because my father left Africa to come to the United States when my mother was 3 months pregnant with me. So I never really got a chance to have that kind of a relationship with him because I grew up without him. And I sort of felt like he never made an effort. And I'm saying this as a child. I'm not saying this, I'm saying this as a healed person and still healing person. But, you know, if you think about it, I'm the child, he's the parent, and I didn't feel like I was that worthy for him to make the effort to try to even create some kind of relationship with me. So I had some, you know, significant resentment where there was a lot of anger because that wound literally guided a lot of my life up until adulthood. So much of it. And I talk about that. And that's why healing is so critical because we all have our wounds, we all have our traumas, we all have our stories. And we need to heal from those to be able to see a brighter and newer life. So I had to go through healing from that. You know, there was a lot of that. I had to sit with it. And here's the kicker. When you sit with anger, like C.S. Lewis said, what comes out is wisdom. When you sit with any emotion, it doesn't matter. What always comes out is wisdom, is truth. The issue is, how do you accept it and how do you alchemize it?
What do you do from?
What do you do with it?
Okay.
That's the key. So,
did you reconnect with your father and maybe see some, you know, I think as we get older, we begin to understand some of the things that when we talk about that, our parents went through that.
yes.
And so there may be another thing of, I think you talk about forgiveness and understanding now. I begin to either forgive myself, forgive others because I have some understanding now through a lot of lessons learned that I didn't have before.
Exactly. Yeah. I have forgiven him. I have. But here's the part about forgiveness and healing and grieving and moving on is the fact that there's always a scar, right? And you just have to acknowledge where you are. You have to acknowledge your reality, which I talk about in the book.
Yeah,
Our
so
meeting,
that's-
I think it was in chapter 3 or chapter 4. I talk about our meeting. We met
Mhm.
and we finally got to talk about like this big umbrella that was hanging up over our heads.
Yeah.
And I had to acknowledge my reality. What came through was I don't have a relationship with this man. Do I want a relationship with him? Possibly I do. But am I going to exert myself to have it? I said that I wasn't going to do that
Hmm.
because I felt like as the child, I had done my part throughout our whatever connection we had growing up. And I hadn't really felt like he had ever done anything. So I accepted that reality, like that I might never have a relationship with him.
Mhm.
I'm still grateful that he gave me life. I'm still grateful for, everything that he's done for me. I forgive him, but my life just doesn't include him. And it's hard. It's a very, very hard situation to live through.
Yeah.
Believe me. But sometimes you have to do that or else you stay and that wound never heals.
Mhm. So how are you now that you're a mother
Mm-hmm.
and you have 4 children, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
that lack of relationship with your father, how has that helped you in your relationship with your children?
Oh my God. Like it, and that's the blessing, right? Like we're not yet on the fourth section, but integration.
We're kind of mixing up here. We go where the conversation flows.
Exactly right. Integration, life happens for you. And that's the one thing that I've learned as I go through this journey. Every single thing you encounter, every single person you meet, every single experience you have, I don't care how challenging it is, how hard it is, it's meant to teach you a lesson. It's meant to grow you. It's meant to open you up to another piece of this world. I look at life that way, so much of it. So my father not being in my life actually revealed to me the kind of mom I wanted to be, the kind of husband I wanted to marry, the kind of person I wanted, so it revealed a lot. So it came as a gift. Even that still was a gift. If you look at it from that perspective, right? It's a gift. It opened me up to seeing how I actually even missed out on so many opportunities to experience fatherhood through all my other relationships, which I ended up seeing that way later on in life. And I talk about that in the book as well, because I was so glued to my pain and to my trauma and so glued to only wanting the person that pushed me when the opportunities to experience that. And so one of the wisdoms in the is that that too. Everything comes to teach you, everything comes to bless you. I know it's hard when, especially when you talk about laws and it, you know it. That is key. Yeah.
It's so to around here. But reawakening connecting authenticity. You talk about authenticity in the book. It's not
Well,
Hey guys, we just lost. Should be back. Let me know. Thumbs up. Are we back? We're good.
okay.
Okay. We are. Technology, it is what it is. I appreciate y'all's patience.
Yes.
We'll get better one day. We'll get some funding and have our own studio.
Yes.
Mobile studio, but one step at a time.
One step at
Okay.
a time.
So,
Authenticity, accountable authenticity, because I feel like authenticity has become a word or like a term that, especially like over the past, like I'd say 5-6 years, has been very popular. And the whole point of my
Give me
book,
1 second.
sure,
I'm seeing it come up here. Sorry to interrupt you.
sure, no
I
problem.
want to make sure that it's back.
I think it is
Should we gonna put-
because I can see like, yeah, I think
Okay.
it's back on.
I was going to see if any. Trying to be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
yeah. So we talk about authenticity, and for the past 5 years, it's a term that's been very common, and that's all what my book is about. That's all what my message is about, right? Because the whole point is I want people to live free to themselves, but the thing is, you also have to do it in a conscious way.
Yeah.
That's why conscious intention is so, it's like you hear me every time I talk anywhere, doesn't matter. There's two words you always hear: accountable authenticity and conscious intention. Because that's the glue to it actually being an offering that integrates and not necessarily is like we focus on the individual, because it's not just about the individual. We know that we're Africans, everything is community, right? Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to interact with people, you're going to have to deal with challenges, you're going to have to interact with people that you don't agree with, right? And it's okay to be yourself wherever you are, but you have to be mindful of how that is also impacting everything else around you. If it's something that is ego driven, then you have to think twice. You have to question, where is this coming from? Is this coming from my ego, or is it coming from an intentional place? Is it coming from a conscious, intentional place? So that's key. And I talk about self connection, and I know it's a new term. And shockingly, I went on LinkedIn the other day, and there's a lot of like self connection experts out there.
There's a lot of experts on everything.
Yeah, honestly, it's owning your authenticity and owning your connectivity to your world as independently as possible with conscious intention.
Yeah.
Which means, how is this growing us? Yeah. Is it creating synergy? Is what I'm offering growing us and not keeping us stagnant, whatever it is?
So it's that constant development, because we're going to be on constant movement.
We're constantly growing, we're constantly expanding, and constantly shrinking.
Because even if you're not doing anything, it doesn't mean nothing is happening. It still means you're digressing.
Bingo.
What are lack of accomplishing stuff, and then trying to get out of that becomes even more difficult.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we're constantly growing, constantly expanding, and constantly, contracting. And everything is a rhythm. Is a breath. Think about it, rhythm goes up, it comes down. But here's the kicker: it goes up and down, but it comes back around. So it's like an infinite loop. It's like a circular experience. So we're constantly experiencing and re-experiencing ourselves through different emotions, and we're elevating with each emotion every time we encounter it.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
I'd like to go on to chapter 3 or section 3. Talks about actualization, reconnecting with your growth, and becoming. So I think you reflected, or you talked about that the mirror reflections of accountability. There's this aspect here that stood out that I'd like you to speak to. Change yourself, change your life. Mind, body connection, impact on change.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
To change yourself, you have to change not just your mind, you have to change your mind, and you have to change your body. Okay. You have to change. So you have to meet your mind and your body at a crossroads. They both have to acknowledge that change. If one accepts it and the other doesn't, you're bound not to make it. That's just the truth about it. And I know that it's difficult for some people to see, like, okay, how do I change my body? It doesn't mean you change your weight or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
You change your chemical composition.
Okay.
You change your stress level. You change your hormone levels. You change, and there's so many natural ways of doing that. And I talk about a lot of that in the book, especially on chapter 10 on self-care and, loving yourself and self-care.
Yeah.
And that is what I mean by changing your body. It's changing your inner world so that your mind can now accept it and how you show up in your outer world.
We speak also about surrender
Mm-hmm.
in chapter
That's
12.
a big one.
Gratitude, service, grace, faith,
Mm-hmm.
and presence.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that's a lot of spiritual language. So how does your spirituality, if you want to speak to that, integrate into your personal life, integrate into the book? Because gratitude, service, grace, faith, and presence. Yeah, we hear that. I went to seminary. We talked a lot about this. How do you relate to it?
It's funny. I always feel like God gave us all these emotions, and He gave us like all like entropy, right? We're constantly moving. Even at rest, every cell is still like moving. We're always moving and growing and changing. I feel like God gave us all this, but then He had to give us some tools to help us along the way. And those are tools for growth, pretty much. Surrender is a huge one. Like I tell you, my word this year is surrender. I don't know. Every year, the beginning of the year, I don't know if you do that, but I do that. I give myself a word for the year.
What was your word last year?
My word what's my word last year? Integration.
Integration.
Yes.
Okay.
My word this year is surrender.
Okay.
And surrender is so critical to any kind of change, any kind of healing. Is critical to grieve. It's critical to change. It's critical to everything you do. Because let me give you an example, right? We had a tech issue that just happened.
Yeah.
That's the reality. You accept it. If no matter how much you stress about it, it happened. You know what I'm saying?
I'm leaving. No, we keep moving forward. We're here. We got. You can hear us now.
So it's not saying that you don't acknowledge the pain. It's not saying you don't acknowledge the challenge. You recognize that it's a challenge. You recognize the pain, but you surrender to the reality of that life situation. That is the only time when you're able to be quiet enough to listen to what it's coming to teach you, to the gift that it's coming to give you. Because like we talked about, everything comes with a gift. Everything comes with a lesson. And when you surrender, you take away that resistance. Because the thing is, when you're fighting anything, you're resisting it at the same time. You're resisting it. And the thing is, you're resisting what it's bringing to you. So it's going to keep coming.
Exactly. Would argue maybe another word too, in addition to tension.
Bingo. The tension.
Taking place.
The tension.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with tension. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Tension, it makes you stronger. Like that's why you grow through everything that you go through. Because it's hard, but it'll push you to maybe think differently, do something differently, see something differently. That's the whole point of growth. Everything comes to grow you. So if you surrender to that reality and you say, what is this reality trying?
Sorry.
Sorry.
That's me.
You say, what is this reality trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from this? How am I supposed to grow from this? What am I supposed to do with it? I promise you, if you do that, the wisdom comes. And that's why I talk about solitude in chapter 10 as a self-care I think it's a requirement for every single individual, every single human being, especially because of the world that we live in. It's so busy and busy and busy. You need that space and that time to sit with yourself every so often and check in with yourself and check in with your values and check in with your beliefs and see if they align with where you are in your life. Because when they don't, that's when you're stressed because you're not living according to what your inner world is demanding. So, and there's things that you may have to change. Solitude also reveals things that, hey, you know what? I could do better. here. Maybe I could do it this way. So it's really important for growth.
You speak about perfection.
No, it's not perfection.
No, I mean, you speak.
Yes, I speak about
That's
perfection.
not himself. Yeah.
It's the killer of dreams.
It's yes.
Yes.
Because as you use this example, it's not perfect.
Mm-mm.
Couple of live stream already getting the comment of Jedediah Peterson. He says, if y'all in Dallas, I can offer a free live stream for one of the sessions.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll work it out. It's fine. But it's but people are hearing. So are you listening? Or are you seeing us all this? Anyway, that's not the point. So speak to perfection a little bit because you said it's a killer of dreams.
Absolutely.
So expand on that, but how has that also affected you personally?
Oh boy, I cannot even tell. I'm still working on that every day, but I've definitely been better after working for so long. Here's the thing about perfection, right? You are trying to live life according to somebody else's standard. You're trying to live life. So you're already living life outside of yourself instead from within yourself. That's stress right there. Number two, you're performing a lot because you're trying to meet a standard. If there's a standard to meet, there's obviously roadmaps and blueprints. And I'm not saying that roadmaps and blueprints are not necessary. They are, right? But you have to take them. They're supposed to be guides, not the set in stone. You're supposed to take them and then you personalize them to suit your life. That is the whole essence of living this life. It is your life to create. And every single individual as a creative nourishes the next person and nourishes the community and nourishes the world. But when you're trying to be like somebody else, when you're trying to do something only according, the reason why that thing became popular and became the standard is because somebody literally poured their everything to it. So take that, add your own thing, pour everything to it, and create something that can elevate us even further. That's the whole point. We keep growing. We have AI now. Imagine, did we have AI 10 years ago? It probably came from something like that, where somebody just sat and thought, hey, how can I evolve this? Same thing with personal development. You are constantly evolving. The key is be intentional about it. Make it your growth, not the growth, but your growth. That's the way to living peacefully and happily.
And I hear Ubuntu arriving some of that of what you're saying is that when you're working on yourself or just working on improving through some of the creativity that God's given you, you're also impacting your community.
Everything.
People are seeing it. People are feeling it. People are calling it out and saying, "Hey, what is this person about? What are they doing?" Have people reached out and seen some of those changes and asked questions to you? What is it that you're doing? What is something new that you're seeing?
Yeah,
and they maybe saw 2 years ago.
Yes, absolutely. People have. People have, and I'm always willing to share because I feel like whenever anything comes in intuitively, it's a gift to everybody, not just to you. That's why I said earlier, every single person you meet, it's there to impact your life somehow. I'm meeting you. You're impacting my life right now. I'm impacting your life right now. We're impacting everybody out there is also impacting us somehow. It's all about integration. Integration is so key. I have this concept. I'm going to go back to the fourth section. When I was writing the book, I did research on integration, right? And I read, I think it's Dr. Daniel Siegel's book on intra-connection. And
yes, I read.
Yes, and I'm researching that even more now because it really explains integration in such a beautiful way. Because if you think about integration, you're thinking about a link, like a chain between two things. So there's me and you right here. This cloth could connect us. That is integration because this is interconnection, TER.
Okay.
Intra-connection is when we overlap each other.
Okay.
Like how they have like the color wheels that go across each other and then two colors make a different color.
Yeah.
That is intra-connection in a sense. Because I know that whatever I do, because we're energetic beings living in a human body, energetically, Even if I'm not touching you, I'm not talking to you, I can walk in here and my disposition could impact you.
Yeah. I guess that's part of
It's energy.
The way you dress, and also
Yeah.
it changes the room. I think a lot of the
Exactly.
colors that I've seen with throughout Africa, color, but the Cameroon community,
Yeah, we're
it's
very
very
colorful.
colorful.
Very colorful.
It changes disposition.
It changes your disposition. It really does, because everything is energy. Ruben, everything is energy. And so we're connected in that sense. So it's going in knowing that I am responsible to give into this what I want from it, because that's the only way I'm going to get what I want from it, is if I give to it what I want from it. And I know that's a really hard concept for us to live, because life, especially in a capitalistic world like the one we live in, and Africa is more still like a communal living, but things are changing even there. That's why, the diaspora needs to start having conversations like this. But, everything you do impacts somebody else. It doesn't only impact you, it impacts everybody else. And I know that's a big responsibility, right? Here's the problem, Ruben. I think the problem is, instead of taking that responsibility, we tend to blame everything else outside of us. You cannot control anybody outside of you. You cannot control anything outside. The only one thing, your only one responsibility that you have as a human being is to control how you contribute. Because that's all you can control. You know your thoughts, you know your processes, you know your intentions. Nobody else, everybody else can guess. But that's just a guess. Nobody else can ever know. So, and that is power. That's the thing. But we fear it.
Know thyself.
We know thyself. So we blame everybody else. We fear it because we fear our imperfections. Your imperfections are there for a reason. They're there to push you to grow. If you start looking at them from that perspective, they become different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what's just say you are responsible for one person alone, you. And if you show up with that mindset, I promise you, if you show up with that mindset, you'll be accountable to how you contribute. And that will impact your community. And that might influence what you receive. It's not going to control what you receive, but it influence what you receive.
We're gonna cut that later. But as we're running out of time, I really want to talk to
Sorry.
you about that's what chapter 20. Trust the process.
Oh yes.
Flow from fear to love. And I think that's a good way to segue out, because it is the last chapter of the book. So I'm assuming it pulls everything together. So you speak to that one.
Oh my God. Flow from fear to love. Because love is everything. Let me give you a thought. Think about the most challenging encounter you've had. Now think about somebody showing you love in that moment. Think about you even just thinking in a loving way in that moment. It changes everything. Love is like the solution. If you think from a space of love, even if it doesn't benefit you, it will benefit the overall synergy of that connection. You see what I'm saying? Even if it doesn't benefit you directly. Obviously, we're human beings, our egos want to be hyperinflated. So the key is to teach people to allow love to lead every decision that you make and not fear. And I know that those are just two words. Love is compassion, it's grace, it's kindness, it's so many different things. It's like the top of the umbrella for all these different ways of showing love, right? Fear as well is all these different things. Fear is, it could be ego, it could be pain, it could be fear, it could be, so there's different, you have to look at it not just as the word, but the energy of the word. That's the essence of it, right? If you choose and live your life from love, you live a peaceful life, Ruben. I'm not saying it's not going to be challenging, because whether you like it or not, you live in a planet with 9 billion people. It's going to be challenging.
Yeah.
But you'll be happier. You have more moments of peace. You have more moments of just bliss, which sometimes is hard to get in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And I know that I talk about duality a lot.
Yeah. So
duality. The pain is essential just as much as, the peace.
Yeah.
But you have more moments where you even integrate that pain into peace because it's coming from a place of love.
2 years ago, you're working through a lot of stuff.
A lot.
If anybody who met you could see it.
Yes.
And I see that whole process that's in this book, the word you are now. And a lot of those questions or things you were saying has either you made peace with them, you found a language for them, you're still engaging or with some of that, or living in that tension in that space. And this is a result of that. So I'm so happy that I get the opportunity. I bought this book right out there to interview you on that. What, we got 5 more minutes. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong clock. What is, your relationship with the African think tank? How did you get involved? What has been your outcome working with the African think tank?
Absolutely. So I got into the African think tank through, our what's our position again?
Executive Director Sidoni.
The biggest dog in the
I know, Sidoni's out here.
I went to school with her. We went to boarding school back home together. And I've known her for a very long time. And she's a very dear friend. Very, very ambitious woman. She's like a go-getter, man. I'm telling you, she inspires me so damn much. And she invited me over to when we had the very first meetup.
Yeah.
And the vision, I saw her vision. It's beautiful. It's truly remarkable. It's such a big vision too, because you're talking about not just bridging in Cameroonians, you're bridging in all the entire continent, and also diaspora, outside diaspora, islands, and also people that are friends. So it's such a big vision. But the thing is, when you have a vision that is that powerful and it's that positive, it always ends up winning. And you can see the result of it. It's been 2 years? It only keeps growing. Now we're in 5 different states, and and I came in with the capacity to do whatever I could. And I joined as a parent and education, a focus group leader in the beginning, which I absolutely love because I could have this conversation like this with you for the next 3 hours. Yeah. This is one of my pet peeves. I love having conversations like this. I love having conversations that grow us, that will make us better, that will open up our minds to see beyond our, restrictions from cultural limitations. And because whether we like it or not, we are evolving. And here's the thing. I always tell people, I say, culture, you not agreeing with a certain cultural aspect doesn't mean that you disrespect it. You don't disrespect it. It just doesn't align with who you are right now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. You can still honor it, but you don't practice it. There's a difference. But the thing is with Africa, sometimes it's really hard because they feel like you're being disrespectful when you're not. So it's really pushing us to think beyond, because whether we like it or not, our children are African Americans. We are the bridge to Africa for our children. And we have to consider the fact that they are living 2 different socioeconomic, cultural lives. They're living as Africans and they're living as Americans. And you cannot try to raise your kid the way you were raised. I'm sorry. Any parent, African parent doing that, you are going to come up with certain, issues. I learned that. I learned the hard way with my daughter, and that's why I had to make the corrections with my sons. You have to acknowledge the fact that they are groomed in a completely different culture as well. The key is to find a way to integrate the 2 cultures from a conscious, intentional place. That is the key. Because we're Americans. We have the African descent, we have the African background, but we're Americans.
Yeah.
And so I'm transitioning this into, because I know we have very little time left. That's why I decided to do a book club for my book. I have a book club that's currently running right now. It's a free book club, by the way. You don't have to pay anything for it. We meet every other Thursday. So next Thursday, May 8th, is going to be our next one. It's the 3rd one. We've had 2 already. We're doing 1 chapter every time we meet. It's going to be on chapter 3, which is connection.
Okay.
Which is, and it's going to talk a lot about energy. and just how much that
Gateway to
impacts
connection.
the gateway to connection, how vulnerability and how much that impacts our connection to everything else around us, that impacts our connection to ourselves,
Okay.
which is key because we are responsible for ourselves. That's why it's a personal development and self-development book.
So people can go onto your website and connect directly
Yes.
to the link.
Yes, within withnutty.com/events, and you can just sign up there. You're gonna get an email with the link for the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
And I'd love to welcome you people into the community. It's a beautiful community.
That's awesome.
Because it's really, we come there to just release, relax, and reflect and grow.
Great.
Yeah.
Man, first of all, I just want to, you just shared, there's just so much more to talk
Yes,
about. Now it doesn't do it justice, but it gets to introduction here.
Yes.
I want to, even though the connection is not great, I still want to give a shout out to Emily Fowler, Central Library.
Thank you.
The folks in the front were very understanding. Antoinette got to meet them. Because one of the things we also want to do is get African books into libraries. And so we never know whether, there's a reason why we're here, whether one day this book could be in the libraries in different locations, in different schools as well. That's how we contribute to that. Again, want to thank everybody who joined. I'm glad the audio was great, so you can at least hear the message. And we'll continue to work on some of the image stuff, but that's fine. We will invite you back.
Thank you.
I think the next time we do it, we're gonna break it down into like maybe one chapter to have a great deal more interaction.
Absolutely.
With people, because there are a lot of good comments. You don't have time to do that. And so I just want to thank you, and I'll give you the last word and close us out.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored. I really appreciate the opportunity. Sometimes I feel like not seen or heard by my community. I'm gonna be honest, but it's my community, and I still love my community regardless.
We hear you.
That's why I'm always showing up. But if you're really into wellness, like breath work, meditation, I'm also branching out into like studios in Dallas. I'm doing in-person workshops. So my first one is going to be May 16th for Mental Health Month. Shout out to Mental Health Month. That's my month. So if you want to come in with me, and we'll go through like a chakra meditation, and just to help release tension and those difficult and challenging emotions, and learn how to pick out the wisdom and the lessons from them, as well as also regulate your subconscious mind to change how it sees certain emotions. It's going to be a really great workshop. So if you can, the link is in my bio. You can always get it. It's going to be V12 Studios, Dallas downtown.
So, Thank you again. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rubin. Thank you to the African Think Tank. Thank you.
Next week, I don't know who we'll have on, but I know who's after. I think we have. I should jump off anyway, but I want to make sure we get. I think Chica. Nana will be not this coming week, but the week after. So tune in for that. I do have somebody next week, and we'll definitely let you know. And again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your understanding. And hey, you have a great rest of your evening, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great one. Self-connection is soul connection. All
right, get out of here.
That was so
Cameroon, African Think Tank, this way, and love this guard.
Thank you, Ruben. That was really awesome. I know it went by so quick.
It goes by so fast.
So fast. So